Okay, so if we could just make ourselves comfortable in our chairs. Um, just make sure your spine is nice and straight, and that you're relaxed. Feel the weight of yourself sitting in the chair, the weight of your legs and feet on the floor. And just take a couple of deep breaths and just breathe in relaxation. Just feel that relaxation going to every cell in the body. And with the out-breath, just let go of any cares of the day, any stresses or tensions anywhere in the body, any thoughts in the mind. Just let them all go. And just feel yourself just relaxing. There's nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to go. Just allow yourself to be in the present moment, the only moment that there is. And we'll start with the head and neck exercises. So drop the head forward, chin to the chest, and up again, upright, 3 times. Drop the head towards the back, eyes towards the ceiling, and upright again 3 times. Nice and slowly. This isn't a race. Drop the head towards the right shoulder and back to the upright position again 3 times. And drop the head towards the left shoulder and upright again 3 times. Now drop the chin towards the chest and rotate the head around to the right. 3 360-degree rotations, nice and slowly. Don't overstrain. Nice and gentle. And after those 3 rotations, just drop the chin towards the chest again. This time we'll go around towards the left. Opposite rotations, 3 360-degree rotations. And now the breathing exercises. Breathe in through the right nostril and out through the mouth 3 times. And next, breathe in through the left nostril and out through the right nostril 3 times. And now, as discussed last week, we'll do a little REM chant. So I'll just do the first one, and then if you would like to join me for two more. So just take a deep breath. I'll do the first one. I'll take a deep breath in. R-E-L. And if you'd just like to join me for the next two, deep breath in. R-E-L. One more, deep breath in. R-E-L. Now the first prayer of protection, the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. This affirmation is from the chapter Happiness in Book 2 of A Search for God. Our Father, our God, in my own consciousness, let me find happiness in the love of Thee, for the love I bear toward my fellow man. Let my life, my words, my deeds bring the joy and happiness of the Lord in Jesus to each I meet, day by day. And the second prayer of protection, as we open our hearts to the unseen forces that surround the throne of grace, beauty, and might, we throw about ourselves protection found in the thought of the Christ. And if we could just go into the silence for approximately 8 to 10 minutes. And we conclude this meditation with the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen.
Okay, the presentation for tonight, still from the Creative Meditation by Richard Peterson, is about commitment, creativity, and inner peace. Introduction. 1. Committing yourself to meditation. 2. The creative meditation experience. 3. The effect of meditation on creativity. 4. Attunement first. Conclusion. Introduction. Your meditation process or practice. Experimenting with your meditation process may result in both good news and bad news. The good news is that you recognize the meditation process as a flexible, creative technique readily adaptable to your needs, circumstances, and experiences. The bad news is that you may wander around in your meditation practice, so fascinated by its variations and by the possibilities of beneficial outcomes that you lose sight of its fundamental purpose, attunement to God, at one ment with life. Furthermore, experimenting may seem to excuse you from making a commitment to meditation. However, even if you plan to continue experimenting, the time for excuses is over and the time of commitment is at hand. 1. The commitment. Committing yourself to meditation. You may commit yourself to 3 responsibilities: to meditate daily, to meditate mindfully, and to meditate creatively. 1. A commitment to meditate daily. If you buy the idea that your life can get recharged by universal spirit and can also be guided by signs and messages from God, then it's not hard to understand why you should plan on a daily visit to God's message and recharging center. Take time daily, then to commune with thy better self, thy God. Don't let a day go Don't let a day go by without meditation and prayer. Even when you schedule a daily meditation period, it comes down to your choice of action at the scheduled time. Do you choose to meditate, or do you feel you'd rather not meditate? Or do you allow something else to fill the time? This is where your priorities get tested. Let's consider 2 kinds of potential interference with meditation. 1. The first kind of interference is reluctance. You find yourself thinking, I'd rather not take the time to meditate today. Or, I've got some problems today, so I better not meditate. Or simply, I'm not up to meditation today. 2. The second kind of interference comes from competing commitments and responsibilities. Such interference is minimized if you set your meditation time for a period when there are usually no other potential demands on your time. No matter how hard you try, however, other responsibilities or unforeseen events may occasionally interfere with your scheduled meditation. So, first and foremost, commit yourself to meditate daily. In addition to your gaining the benefits from regular meditation, the discipline of a daily commitment is in itself excellent training for your will. Rudolf Steiner recommends the building of rhythms into life as an exercise for the training of the will. In his book on will, Paradox of Power, Mark Thurston uses meditation as an example of this training. The will is awakened and trained through repetition in more than one way. First, there must be willed effort to maintain the pattern. Once the pattern is established, the will can, in turn, begin to draw sustenance from the rhythm itself. This process is illustrated in the discipline of keeping a regular meditation time each day. At first, it takes effort, all kinds of excuses to procrastinate or avoid keeping the appointed time arise from the mind. By acts of will, the regular pattern is established. However, with the creation of such a personal rhythm, a remarkable thing begins to happen. The rhythm has a life of its own. Keeping the meditation time becomes easier, no longer requiring a struggle of undue effort. The will itself begins to be fed and strengthened by the purposeful pattern. A commitment to meditate mindfully. Mindful here has a twofold meaning. The first relates to seeking diligently the stage of mindfulness beyond the stage of concentration. The second relates to keeping activities in the meditation process from becoming rote without conscious thought. One of the key activities of meditation that can readily succumb to mindlessness is the repetition of the spiritual focus, up to now, usually the spiritual ideal in one of its several forms. Although the words, even without thought, still have power, mindfulness will facilitate reaching the essence behind the words, the spiritual thread along which one moves toward God. Most preparatory activities can be done mindlessly as well as mindfully, and the meditator should be alert to signs of mindlessness. Since variety helps keep one mindful, changing an activity or the sequence of activity in the preparation phase may encourage mindfulness. However, the primary route to mindfulness is the training of attention, learning to keep the mind focused and alert. 3. A commitment to meditate creatively. The third part of the commitment is to meditate creatively. This means keeping vitality and joy alive in your meditation through your creative use of the meditation process. Allow meditation not only to bring you the inner peace and feelings of well being, but also to quicken your spiritual self and to tap into the well of joy that may be experienced through your visits with God. When these experiences are lacking, reawaken your experimental curiosity and inject new life into your meditation process with different preparatory activities, new aids to attunement, or a change in your spiritual focus. Most preparatory activities can be done mindlessly as well as mindfully, and the meditator should be alert to signs of mindlessness. Since variety helps keep one mindful, changing an activity or the sequence of activity in the preparation phase may encourage mindfulness. However, the primary route to mindfulness is the training of attention, learning to keep the mind focused and alert. Number 2, the creative meditation experience. 1. Synchronicity. Marlene Helberg describes beautifully how meditation may increase the subtle coincidences we experience. There is something in the universe, call it what you will, the way, cosmic flow, divine plan, will of God, that totally beyond the laws of chance or coincidence directs the lives of those who are in tune with it. If you can position yourself in the flow of that force, you will find that more and more you just happen to be at the right place at the right time. You manage to find the right words to say what needs to be said. You find yourself doing the kind of work you enjoy and do best. And when you have a need, the right person or thing just happens to come along to fill that need. Almost everyone has had an experience or two like this, and most often such events are chalked up to coincidence. But when one is really in the divine flow, they become the rule rather than the exception. Just the act of meditation itself will greatly increase your ability to tune in to the cosmic flow from beyond TM. 2. Energy renewal. In centered living, the way of centering prayer, M. Basil Pennington talks about another benefit of meditation. People who center or meditate regularly seem to have such boundless energy. They are constantly refreshed, even in the midst of their labors. This enables them to cut back on their sleep and other recreative activities so they have more time for productive work. The investment of centering prayer is amply paid back. Anyone who says he or she has not the time to center should perhaps take another look. If they are so hard pressed, they are perhaps the ones who most need centering prayer, not only to gain time and energy, but to find leisure and worship and God in the midst of all their labors. Number 3, for your inner peace and harmony shared to others. An Edgar Cayce reading describes a third general effect of meditation that perhaps unexpectedly extends beyond the meditator. As the individual may experience in some of its moments of meditation, the finding of peace in self enables the individual to give more assurance, more help to others. Just by being patient and not attempting to control or to appear over anxious. Thus, as harmony and beauty and grace reign within the consciousness of an individual, it gives that to others, and others wonder what moved them to feel different when no one spoke, no one even appeared to be anxious. This is the manner in which the Spirit of Truth operates. 3. Creativity. The effect of meditation on creativity. Creativity is the ability to go beyond known forms to develop new forms. The forms may be objects, patterns, knowledge, ideas, principles, or relationships. If we understand that everything, whether thought or substance, is of the one energy that is God, it follows that our ability to be creative can only be enhanced by our ability to connect with God, the original creative force. Through this God connection, we are also connected with a universal consciousness in which all thought, memory, and knowledge can be reached. Psychological studies of creativity suggest that the creative person has some of the same characteristics as a person who meditates. According to psychologist Patricia Carrington in her book, Freedom in Meditation, the highly creative individual appears more able to direct awareness inwardly than the less creative person. 1. Primary process thinking. The highly creative person does more primary process thinking. Thinking that uses highly symbolic and pictorial means of expression, often in bizarre or absurd ways, as in our dreams or hallucinations, or any state where the mind is not confined by ordinary logic. The content may be drawn from the unconscious mind of the individual. Through attunement in meditation, it may also be drawn from the universal source of creative energy, the mind of God. When primary process thinking is controlled and integrated by the conscious mind, highly creative ideas may result. Psychological research demonstrates a positive relationship between meditation and controlled primary process thinking, suggesting that meditators are probably more capable of primary process thinking than non meditators, one step toward creativity. Research also suggests that meditation may enhance three other traits besides primary process thinking, typical of the creative person: openness to experiencing emotion, the assurance of allowing oneself to respond to problems on an intuitive level, and perceptual openness, a willingness to perceive things in new ways. 4. Attunement first. The fundamental goal is at one ment with God. When you know about benefits that may be realized through meditation, such as increased creativity, and especially once you have experienced some of them, you may be tempted to begin your meditation process with a purpose in mind other than the fundamental goal of at-one-ment attunement. Such results directed expectations can interfere with the attunement process, during which you must stay focused spiritually. And that attunement, your connection with God, must occur before you have access to God's resources, such as guidance and healing. Master Eckhart uses an engaging analogy in discussing this inclination in our relationship with God. Some people, I swear, want to love God in the same way as they love a cow. They love it for its milk and cheese and the profit they will derive from it. Those who love God for the sake of outward riches or for the sake of inward consolation operate on the same principle. They are not loving God correctly. They are merely loving their own advantage. From Matthew Fox's Meditations with Meister Eckhart. Joel Goldsmith goes directly and unsparingly to the point. Any meditation that has within itself a single trace of a desire to get something from God or to acquire something through God is no longer meditation. Good is to be realized, yes, but not to be achieved. The infinity of good is already where I am. The kingdom is within me, from the art of meditation. And that is the point. The outcome will occur as the result of the attunement, not as its objective. With the same concern, Case's readings frequently refer to a familiar verse from the Gospel of Matthew. But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Matthew 6:33. Mark Thurston shares this helpful idea about the attitude being held as one goes into meditation. Meditation is like loving, as in loving God, and the language of love is giving. I should approach its meditation with the intention to give of myself, not to get. The only genuine criterion for a successful meditation is the feeling of authentic self, surrender to something bigger than self, from personal correspondence with the author. In summary, hold to the principle of attunement first in every meditation. On those occasions when you are puzzled or disappointed about what is not happening in your meditations, about the effects you are not experiencing, examine your motivation and intention during the attunement process. Are you allowing desires for outcomes or expectations of benefits to override your desire for attunement at one moment? Putting your at one ment first is really putting God first. All else must follow. Conclusion. A peaceful meditation. Follow your current process of meditation with one exception. Instead of using your spiritual ideal as the focus, use the words below suggested by Peace Pilgrim. Peace, be still and know that I am God. Peace, be still and know that I am. Peace, be still and know. Peace, be still. Peace, be. Peace, peace, peace.
Thank you, Lolita. That was
My pleasure.
very interesting.
Thanks, Lolita.
Very welcome.
Yeah, that was interesting.
There's a very interesting point in there. You know, when you're meditating, it's not the idea of getting, but the idea of giving, which really strike me in the heart. Because when I meditate, I'm always in this expecting to meet God. You know, it's like not really just you know just just to be at one with God, but it's like an expectation. So that's a very interesting thing on that reading.
That's right. That's the thing. Don't try to do that. Try to be giving, not looking to receive something, which is a bit different.
Big difference.
It is a bit, yeah, that's right. So he's saying always set off with the idea of attunement or at-one-ment. Or atonement. There's another way to pronounce that too, isn't there? At-one-ment and atonement. But always set off with that in mind, and then later other things will come. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good points in that presentation. Many good points.
I'm interested in the creativity part as well, and also the part where it says when you actually meditate, you actually are more full of energy. Because when I was at the beginning, back in the 90s, when I started meditating, actually, I find that and half an hour meditation to me is like equivalent to 1 hour sleep. So the more I meditate, the shorter hours that I need to sleep. Like presently now, I'm actually thriving at 6 hours sleep.
Okay. That's what it's saying. You get energy from meditating. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, you, Madeline.
Well, it's quite funny because but every time I go to Sydney, and my nieces are like 20 years younger than me, and they sort of like said, "Auntie, you're putting us to shame. You're nearly 69, and your energy is just leaving us for dead." And but I said to them, that's why I keep telling you, you have to do your meditation.
Mm.
That's good.
Yeah, because when you're talking about creativity, it just reminded me a lot of the Edgar Cayce reading says that we're co-creators with God. So that I guess is a gift from God to us for creating us, is to be co-creating with Him.
The one thing I'd just like to comment on is this idea of trying to get something from meditation. What I liken that to is I've read a lot about lucid dreaming, where you try to actually wake up during the dream and change the outcome of what's happening in the dream, so that you're actually aware that you're dreaming and modifying the outcome of the dream, that you're actually in control of it. I'm not a great fan of that, because I think that's almost the same as trying to create an outcome in meditation. That we're there in meditation to try and join in with the higher sense within us, the God within us. And the same with dreams. We're trying to create a link to that higher sense within us, the God within us. But if we start to use our conscious mind to interfere with that process, I just don't agree with that kind of dreaming. I think we're meant to attune to that inner part of us and get the guidance from our dreams, rather than trying to create our own dreams and modify the outcome of whatever the dream is happening in the dream by using our conscious mind. I just don't think that's a good
That's
thing.
an interesting point. Interesting point.
So, and the same with meditation. We shouldn't be using our conscious mind to try and modify it or do something. That we should be just letting go of the conscious mind, letting go of the personality, letting go of the ego, and allowing that connection with the higher self, the God within.
Did Cayce say anything about lucid dreaming, Russell?
Oh, look, I know that there's been material written about lucid dreaming based around Cayce. That's a bit of homework for me to have a look.
Will be interesting to know what he thinks of
I
it.
know that there was books. He did a lot of dream analysis for 900, which is Morton Bluebird for. So yeah, I think many years of dream analysis. But I don't know anything about lucid dreaming. So yeah, which is different.
In some ways, visions and that sort of thing, they kind of a little bit similar, because there's a sort of an element of consciousness. So I think when people are coming out of sleep or coming out of meditation, you can actually have a sort of a conscious visualization, which is a little bit like that, where the vision comes into your mind, and it's a little bit like that. I think that sort of thing is quite, then he says that's like an answer from God, or a sign, or a message. It's a message, which is part of being psychic, which is something that can be improved, or just is a natural consequence of meditation.
I know that the readings definitely said do not visualize, because that's basically saying to God, I know what's best. I'm visualizing what I want, rather than leaving it up to you. The readings are saying that trying to visualize something and manifest it is basically telling God that you know what's best for you, and
I like that. I
putting
love
God
that
first.
idea, leaving the detail to God. That's a really nice idea. Sort of saying
We're
you want
supposed to
some
say,
sort of outcome sometimes, but you know, say in your life, you know, you pray for some solution, but the idea of to leave the details to God is a very good idea.
and we're always saying, not my will, but thine, O Lord, be done in me and through me.
Yeah.
That's the very first affirmation from cooperation. We're supposed to be cooperating with God, co-creators with God, but saying that your will, your knowledge, your abilities are far beyond anything I can ever conjure up. So not mine, but yours. And I'm willing to be used as a channel for your will.
That was a lovely point there in this one about how the benefits of this meditation can be that you get a synchronicity of like being in the right place at the right time. That you know, it's not something you've got that you want to share. Someone who needs that comes along, and vice versa. So that sort of thing can happen more in our lives if we're regular meditators.
It brings to mind. I come across this definition of coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous.
Yeah, it's a good one.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. That was very interesting. It was a good one there, Lolita.
Thanks to Keith.
Yeah. And I do find people are more relaxed and peaceful when I'm more relaxed and peaceful from meditating. You know, it just, you know, affects other people around you, which is good.
And I think the point that I have learned in the years of meditating is, it is when I am bothered, it is when I am really pressed for time, that I try to find even just 5 minutes or 10 minutes of meditation, because it really, for some reason, it really makes a difference. It seems as if time is rearranged for me when I actually sit for when I sit meditating. It seems as if I have more time after that to do the things that I need to do.
That's good. Time expands.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, thank you. I'll start with mine. Okay, so yeah, so this is from Creative Meditation as well. And the title is Who is in Charge of Your Life? Or if you could rephrase it, are you in charge of your life? Or who do you blame if things go wrong? So there's the introduction, a self-inventory exercise, self-inventory 4. What do you believe? Understanding the laws of the spirit, empowerment through the spiritual laws. So introduction. Creative meditation is a strategy that can help you cope with the toughest of challenges. If circumstances are giving you more challenge than you need right now, you have two choices for dealing constructively with the challenge. One, you can incorporate creative meditation into coping strategies, or two, you can begin to reduce the challenge itself by changing the conditions that cause it. So we're going to do a simple self-inventory exercise. What you can do, either you can get a pen and paper if you have one in handy, or you can just do it mentally. I'm going to read out the questions and you answer them with agree or disagree. Just either one answer, one of two choices. So number one, I frequently find myself in circumstances which I had no part in selecting or bringing about. I may become ill because I have something to gain from the illness. That's number two. So I put agree on both of them. And number 3, question number 3, I am predisposed to act in certain ways because of the positions of the planets at the time I was born. So I disagree with that. Number 4, my life has a specific spiritual purpose for me to fulfill. I agree. Number 5, whether I believe in a particular medical treatment or not has no effect on my being healed through it. So I agree with that. 6, question 6, I have put myself into the conditions resulting in my present financial status. I agree. 7, I've lived previous lives on earth. I agree. Number 8, if I keep my thoughts to myself, they have no effect on anyone else. I disagree. Number 9, I attract to myself the situations I need for my spiritual growth. I agree. And number 10, my attitudes and emotions have a significant effect on my susceptibility to catastrophic illness, such as cancer and heart disease. I agree with that one. 11, if I was involved in an accident but not at fault, I was not responsible for experiencing the accident. I agree. Number 12, I can find the answer to any question by looking within myself. I agree. Number 13, my future circumstances have already been determined for me. Disagree. 14, I have the capability for being psychic. I agree. And what appears to be an unjust event in my life may be the result of an unjust action of mine in a previous life. And I agree with that. So, and the scoring, so according to Richard Peterson, if you circle your answers for items 1, 5, 8, 11, and 13, and you give yourself 1 mark if you disagreed with those answers, 1, 5, 8, 11, and 13. And then the rest of the answers, if you agree, then you get a mark for the rest of the other, all the other questions. So then you count your check marks, and the total is your responsibility belief score. So if you look at here, number 1, I got this wrong. I mean, I frequently find myself, I said agree, but disagree would have gained me 1 point. So I got 2 correct, 3 correct, 4. I got 5. I didn't get a mark for 5. Whether I believe in a particular medical treatment or not has no effect on my being healed through it. So I would have got a mark if I put disagree. 6, 7, I got a mark for each of those, but 8, I also got a mark. If I keep my thoughts to myself, they have no effect on anyone else. And I got a mark for number 9, 10. And number 11, I did not get a mark for that one. If I was involved in an accident, but not at fault, I was not responsible for experiencing the accident. So I put the disagree, I would have got a mark for that. And the rest I got all right. So the belief score I got was 12 when I added all up. And if you look at the score range between 10 and 15, if anyone has between 10 or 15, they score, that means you have a strong belief that you are responsible for your own circumstances, that you have put yourself where you are, that you have created or set in motion all the conditions in which you find yourself. So what you find in this presentation is consistent with your existing views. If you scored 6 to 10, then your beliefs about your responsibility for your own circumstances are mixed. You feel responsible for some situations and not for others. So you will find the ideas in this presentation difficult to accept. And if your score was very low, between 0 and 5, then you do not believe that you are responsible for most of your own circumstances. So the ideas in this presentation will be inconsistent with your existing views. So please suspend your disbelief temporarily. So I scored a 12, so I'm sort of high up there. So what do you believe? Your attitudes and your actions are powerfully influenced by your beliefs. Your attitudes and actions regarding your circumstances are influenced by your beliefs about your circumstances and about life in general. So you are responsible for your present circumstances. If that seems like bad news to you, the good news is that you can change your circumstances. So this quote here from the book, You'll See It When You Believe It, by Dr. Wayne Dyer. I have lost my ability to blame others for the circumstances of my life. I no longer view the world in terms of unfortunate accidents or misfortunes. I know in my being that I influence it all, and now find myself considering why I created a situation rather than saying, why me? This heightened awareness directs me to look inside of myself for answers. I take responsibility for all of it, and the interesting puzzle becomes a fascinating challenge when I decide to influence areas of my life in which I previously believed I was not in control. I now feel that I control it. A reading from Edgar Cayce, nothing happens by chance. One of our first steps after identifying a challenging condition, especially one of long standing, is to search deeply inside ourselves to discover what is reinforcing me to hang on to that situation. What's in it that gives me comfort or gratification? What benefit results from it? I am periodically forced to re-examine my problems with such probing questions. It helps to be able to look at the situation with perceptual openness, the willingness to look at things in new ways. Meditation can facilitate such perception. Once you accept the burden of responsibility for being where you are and take the credit and comfort when they are due, you can select circumstances you desire to change and can plan strategies for bringing about this change. You will be better able to create strategies for change if you understand the operation of spiritual laws, often referred to as universal laws. So, understanding the laws of the spirit. So there's 4 laws that are going to be discussed: the law of manifestation, the law of cause and effect, the law of abundance, and the law of ideals. God's universe is governed by spiritual laws most people know nothing about, although their lives respond to these laws continuously. These spiritual laws are absolute, and just as with physical and mental laws, whether we know about them or not, they still operate fully in our lives. How much more harmoniously we can live in God's universe when we understand and work with spiritual laws. For example, when we sincerely want to bring changes about in our life circumstances, we can best do so by cooperating with the laws that govern those circumstances. So a quote here from Power Through Constructive Thinking by Emmett Fox: there is no such thing as luck. Nothing ever happens by chance. Everything, good or bad, that comes into your life is there as a result of unvarying, inescapable law. And the only operator of that law is none other than yourself. No one else has ever done you any harm of any kind, or ever could do so, however much it may seem that he or she did. Consciously or unconsciously, you have yourself at some time or other produced every condition, desirable or undesirable, that you find in either your bodily health or your circumstances today. You and you alone ordered those goods, and now they are being delivered. So 1, the law of manifestation. This spiritual law is embodied in the principle quoted dozens of times in whole or in part throughout the Cayce readings. The spirit is life, the mind is the builder, the physical is the result. So the spirit is life. So this is the law of manifestation. Everything that exists is of the one energy which we may call creative force, spirit, or God. And conversely, spirit is the origin of everything that exists. The implication for taking charge of my life is vital. To change or create a circumstance in my life, I must address it first through the spiritual. The creative life force that is within the difficulty I encounter is the same life force that I'll use to create a solution. 2, the mind is the builder. The mind draws upon that infinite energy resource and shapes it to some thought form through the action of the mind at both the conscious and unconscious levels. The thought form is strengthened through repetition, strong emotion, clear visualization, and other more subtle aspects of the mind. Cayce's concept of the mind extends beyond today's typical psychological definitions to a more all-encompassing bridge between spirit and substance. And 3, the physical is the result. The thought form dwelt upon by the mind may eventually be perceived in the physical world as an actual physical form, as an attitude or conscious idea, or as an action, influence, or effect. The physical result may be manifested through the exercise of ordinary physical processes, such as growing, assembling, or reigning, equipment such as factories, surgical instruments, or computer chips, and agents such as yourself or another person. The physical may also be manifested through extraordinary processes such as extrasensory perception or ESP, spontaneous manifestation, or laying on of hands. The physical result may occur after a long period of time, or it may be instantaneous, or anything in between. Your understanding of the operation of this spirit-mind-physical law will help you to find reasons for undesirable circumstances, as well as to change them. So the second law, the law of cause and effect. In its simplest form, this law says that every cause or action has an effect or reaction. Stated the other way, every effect is preceded by a cause. One of Cayce's readings puts it this way: for nothing, as is known in the causation world, happens of itself or without a cause. This law of cause and effect, as applied to human activity, has many familiar forms and counterparts. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. That's Galatians chapter 6, verse 7. Or like begets like. What you expect, you receive. Also known as the law of expectancy. And nothing happens by chance. The effect may occur long after the cause. The time period is God's time, not ours. In fact, the cause and effect may be in different lifetimes, in which case it is the law of karma. What is caused in one life without effect in that life will have its effect in a subsequent life. Karma may also be a positive effect of a positive cause. And the third, the law of abundance. This law, sometimes called the law of supply, takes several forms, but underlying all of them is the principle that there is no limit on the resources available to you. As you apply, as you make use of that in hand, more is given thee. For day unto day is sufficient, if use is made thereof. The only limitations on abundance are those that we ourselves impose. And in the fourth law is the law of ideals. So we progress spiritually in our lives to the degree that we guide our lives according to our spiritual ideals. One of the many Cayce readings on this law states it this way: what the individual may do with its abilities in the present experience will depend upon what the individual does about that which it chooses as its ideal in this present experience, and what it does about such an ideal in dealing with the problems that concern things, conditions, and individuals. So, to understand more about universal laws based on the Edgar Cayce readings, I suggest that you read Your Life, Why It Is the Way It Is, and What You Can Do About It by Bruce MacArthur. And 4, Empowerment Through the Spiritual Laws. The more you understand, accept, and cooperate with the spiritual laws, the more you will realize the power you have to create your own circumstances. This is true empowerment, the ability to plan, direct, and control your life for your own fulfillment through progress in spiritual growth. Paradoxically, your ability to control your life is counterbalanced with the need for surrender to a higher power, to God, and to your ultimate spiritual ideal of oneness with God. In a sense, the more we let go and let God, the more we realize we are ultimately in charge of our lives. Creative meditation can first awaken in you the wisdom to know what kind of future is best for you, a process of surrendering to your good. Then creative meditation can make available to you the creative force of the universe. Spiritual laws can guide you in understanding how the force operates. Your personal spiritual ideal can enable you to draw the force into your own life and create circumstances consistent with your ideal and God's purpose. The spiritual laws do not need to be invoked or put into operation. They operate all the time. We may ignore them, we may try to beat them, or we may cooperate with them. Regardless, they will have their impact on us. Cooperating with the laws is simply planning and performing our actions according to our understanding of how the laws work. If we want to do something more, we can affirm the operation of the laws and our trust in the outcome. So that's the end of creative meditation. Who is in charge of your life? Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. That was great.
Yeah, it's sort of.
Good.
I did want to mention that Russell Bowey did a thorough study of the universal laws, but Drew put.
We've been studying that book for many months now. Is it, Russell, about 15 months or something like that?
Probably that long, yeah.
Something like that. We've been reading through the Universal Laws book by Bruce MacArthur, and it's really, really interesting. Very good. It's a scary idea that everything we have in our lives, we have created effectively.
The good and the bad.
I think one of the questions to ask about to whom or to what you attribute the circumstances of your life. One of the questions stated something about do we feel as though our lives are fixed?
Or predestined.
And the answer was to disagree with that they're not fixed. And yet I believe that a lot of our lives are fixed, that it's all been preordained, pre-planned, because, I always use the example of Maria having a dream of something that she didn't even know that she was going to go and live in New York, but having a dream about this lady in New York, and then, probably 9 months later, getting an opportunity to go to New York and finding the dream unfolding before her eyes. So that part of her life was totally fixed. She had no idea when she had the dream that she'd be going to New York. So, but to me, even though parts of our life may be fixed, that it's all the circumstances, the people we're meant to meet, the places we're meant to live, are probably chosen by us anyway, at the soul level, before we incarnate. But I feel that free will is more how we choose to respond to those people and situations we encounter, rather than complaining about them and saying, well, who in their right mind would have chosen to be here or to do this? But so I think free will is more about choices of how we choose to respond to the situations that were perhaps preordained, that were perhaps set in motion before we even incarnated. Because obviously we were meant to be with the people that we were meant to be with. nothing happens by chance.
This was quite interesting about also how you can choose to change your life. You can actually make changes as long as you're working within the laws. So that's kind of, I don't know that we sort of get that all that much. I guess we do from Search for God book and the Laws book, but this was sort of very clear about that idea. You can change the life that you have, change the circumstances, but I guess you need to understand very clearly how you've got yourself into this pickle, so to speak.
Yeah, keep busy, God's watching.
And look, the whole thing about life is that it's not just us. You know, there's a lot of people that we interact with all the time. Family, friends, work colleagues, and we might be able to change certain circumstances of our lives. But, you know, the readings actually say that us getting sick, a severe illness, has as much to do with us as it has to do with the people around us, that they've chosen to be part of that process of helping you deal with that severe illness. So, you know, there's a whole network of responsibilities. We are our brother's keeper. The readings constantly stress that. So it might be correct that we can just suddenly change our life and go off and do something else, but that might create a lot of circumstances that may not be great on the people that were relying on us to be there. It's interesting because, and look, you could almost say the ultimate version of that is to commit suicide, because you have that choice. You can do that if you want, but look at the circumstances that you're going to leave a lot of people who are relying on you, the effect that that's going to have. So a partial process of that would be to just suddenly head off and go off and do something else. Change where you live, go overseas, just get away from it all. But what sort of mess have you left for those people who were relying on you to be there? So to me, the ultimate test of all of this is not what we're doing or think we're choosing to do, or that God's chosen for us, or that our higher selves chose for us before we even incarnated, but to live every moment, if possible, with love. And that's we have a choice. Everything that happens to us, love or not love, that's the choice.
And you can't run away from your own feelings and thoughts. You're always carrying them with you, and you have to take the responsibility of it because it has consequences on your life and on other people's life as well. So you have to live with yourself. Do the best you can. Do the best you can. That's
just to go and live somewhere else. You're still carrying all of those processes with you. That won't change.
You can't run away from yourself.
Okay. So creative meditation, being psychic and sensitive too. Introduction. What is psychic? What is esoteric? Meditation and self-guidance. Introduction. When we don't know much about psychic ability, we may assume that everything coming from psychic sources is accurate and worthwhile. That assumption may lead us to accept psychically received information uncritically. Information profess to be for our guidance and well-being is readily available these days from an abundance of psychic sources through individuals labelled psychics, psychic counsellors, readers and sensitives, and through esoteric systems and devices such as astrology, numerology, palmistry, tarot, regression, I Ching, and Viking runes. If we perceive such ready guidance as infallible, we may tend to relinquish responsibility for some of our decisions and actions by yielding to a wisdom out there that seems bigger than life. In fact, the source may be smaller than life, and the information may have deteriorated as it filtered through the interpreter, resulting in guidance less valid than what we can receive directly ourselves. The quality of the music you hear over the radio is no better than the quality of the original performance or the quality of the radio receiver system. This does not mean we should abandon the idea of receiving information through outside psychic sources. It does mean that we should use caution and common sense in evaluating and using such information. We can, however, learn to be our own best psychic, and creative meditation can play a significant role in the process. 1. What is psychic? Edgar Cayce has a definition for psychic. Psychic is of the soul, the abilities to reason by the faculties or by the mind of the soul. Soul. The soul is an inner spiritual nucleus that holds the godlike qualities and capabilities you are learning and accumulating through your experiences on earth. A Cayce reading says that the soul is the God part in thee, the living God. A soul being psychic. The definition of psychic suggests then that since you have a soul, you are psychic. The more highly developed you become spiritually, that is in soul development, the more your psychic abilities may manifest themselves. As you develop qualities consistent with your spiritual ideal and demonstrate their action in your life, those qualities reside in your soul. Individuality. The unique pattern of soul qualities you have developed over the period of your soul's existence in the cosmos is called by Cayce your individuality. Personality, other qualities that you develop, the traits that you exhibit for others to see and recognize as you, the habits and attitudes you develop to meet the circumstances of this life are all part of your personality. Meditation and the soul. How do soul and psychic relate to meditation? In preparing for meditation, you try to awaken and exercise those inner qualities of your soul that constitute your individuality. They will facilitate your attunement with God. Your attempts to clear petty and unspiritual thoughts from your mind and to focus on your spiritual ideal in creative meditation are efforts to raise your consciousness to your soul level. Then, at the soul level, your vibrations begin to approach the highest vibrations of God. When your vibrations reach a high enough level, entrainment occurs, and you may sense oneness with God at that moment. When you are in contact with God, that is with all universal energy and consciousness, you may obtain information from God and other higher sources according to your attunement. At such times, you are exercising one function of your psychic ability. Contacting God indirectly. Contact may also be made with other sources in spirit instead of directly with God. This includes, according to Cayce, guides, angels, other evolved spiritual entities, and also entities that are not highly evolved. Sometimes the sources may identify themselves as Michael did, Archangel Michael, when he occasionally spoke through Edgar Cayce. We invoke a prayer of protection in meditation to protect ourselves from influences by spiritual beings who are not at higher vibrational levels near the throne of God. So where does that lead us? Psychic means of the soul, which in turn means pertaining to those godlike qualities in your inner spiritual nucleus. If you are seeking psychic guidance, you are looking for information and direction with the help of those inner qualities that bring you close to God. That suggests you can go directly to God for guidance, that you need not use a psychic agent who goes to God for you. This also suggests that if a psychic does not make the connection through the psychic's own soul and its pattern of godlike qualities, the information the psychic receives and reports may be from sources other than God and perhaps considerably lower in vibration than God. Even a person who has high spiritual ideals and a proven track record as a psychic sometimes experiences periods when the psychic ability is not operating. Also, psychics may be gifted in obtaining information about some subjects than about others, more gifted in obtaining information about some subjects than about others. For example, more skilled at obtaining physical health information than past life information. In such situations, information given by the psychic may simply be stimulated by his or her imagination. This leads to two important principles on obtaining psychic guidance to another person. First, the psychic's own personality and spiritual development influence the sources to be reached and the manner in which the information is communicated. Second, the range of sources for information is very wide, from the ultimate source in God to entities severely limited in their capacities and understanding. Every effort must be made to obtain guidance only from highly evolved sources, if not from God himself. Instead of looking for outside sources of psychic guidance, why not become your own channel, using creative meditation as part of your preparation? When asked how best to develop psychic talents, Cayce's answer emphasized keeping in close association and communication with those inner forces in self, as is found in entering into the silence at the periods as have been set. In other words, through regular meditation. Part 2, what is esoteric? The word esoteric truly fits systems like astrology and numerology and oracles like I Ching and Tarot. They are, as the word implies, understood only by the select few who have special knowledge about them. The Greek root esoterikos, I think that's meant to be, meaning inner, gives another connotation to the word, pertaining to information which is subjective, inner, rather than objective, outer. The Cayce readings address the question of how much credence to give esoteric information. Cayce was asked to what extent palmistry, for example, may be relied upon. His response applies, he says, more broadly than to palmistry. In regard to any and every omen, esoteric sign, it is an indication, yes. As to whether or not it will come to pass, depends upon what the individual does about what it knows in relationship to itself. It may be dependent upon then about 20% as being absolute and about 80% chance, or what a body does with its opportunities. The following is a list of esoteric systems that may provide us with spiritual guidance and useful information. First, psychic readings. There are many psychics who give spiritual information, but most of us here rely on the psychic information found in the Edgar Cayce readings. 2, astrology. 2 astrology books based on the Edgar Cayce readings are A Spiritual Approach to Astrology by Mima Loftus and Toward a New Astrology, The Approach of Edgar Cayce by Rye Red. Numerology. The 2-volume series by Matthew Oliver Goodwin, Numerology, The Complete Guide, is an excellent, easy-to-follow reference. Oracles. An oracle is sometimes defined as a divine revelation or communication, often in obscure or ambiguous form. If we accept divine as mean operating through spirit, then we will accept that definition. To explain how an oracle such as I Ching works, we need to understand the concept of synchronicity, a term created by physician-psychologist Carl Jung. I Ching, a book titled Change, is a working study of concepts found in the Edgar Cayce readings and the ancient Chinese oracle I Ching. Another recommended book is titled The I Ching Workbook by R.L. Wing, which is an effective way of learning and practicing the system. Tarot. Recommended reading, Tarot, A New Handbook for the Apprentice by Eileen Connolly. 7, Viking Runes. Recommended reading is The Book of Runes, commentary by Ralph H. Bloom. Part 3, Meditation and Self-Guidance. The guidance process described here is an extension of suggestions in the Edgar Cayce readings about solving problems and making decisions. To cover the wide range of situations to which the process applies, we will use the word question to mean the problem, the decision, the concern, or the issue on which you are seeking guidance. The word answer will refer to whatever guidance information emerges from the process. You are already familiar with all the principal elements of this approach: your spiritual ideal, a statement of the question or questions on which you seek guidance, information on the topic available to you from both inner and outer sources, experience, facts, opinions, psychic sources, esoteric arts and sciences, dreams, intuition, and synchronicity, and a meditation process for attunement. The recommended process has 5 phases, all essential to productive and valid self-guidance. These are 1, preparation, 2, data collection, 3, formulation of an answer, 4, evaluation of the answer, and 5, follow through. Phase 1, preparation. The 2 principal activities in this phase are expressing the question clearly and completely and reviewing your spiritual ideal, restating it if necessary to make it directly relevant to the question. The question should be stated in an open-ended manner that doesn't limit the possible answers. On the other hand, the question should not ask for everything on the issue to be resolved in one answer. Your spiritual ideals will be used as a yardstick to measure your answer in the guidance process. Asked if the judgments made from information received in an introspective meditative process were valid, Cayce responded that they were when they were consistent with the ideals. Phase 2, data collection. This phase is pivotal to the rest of the process because if you don't have the necessary information, you won't be able to formulate the best answer. The primary activity is gathering information from a variety of sources, both inner and outer. The amount of information should be appropriate to the importance of the question. The Cayce readings repeatedly emphasize first trying to get an answer through your own mental reasoning, thoroughly analysing the whole situation on the basis of all the information you can collect. Phase 3, formulation of answer. This phase begins with summarising and organising the information collected. It is probably the most difficult because it is often a process of sorting through and analysing a wide variety of different information, seeking common themes and the structure of an answer that may be buried in the data. The data may be weighed and prioritised as to credibility and relevance, sorted and combined in several logical ways to develop the single best answer to your question. Phase 4, evaluation of answer. Your best answer is measured against your ideal. If it is consistent with the ideal, the answer is then confirmed with God through meditation. For this purpose, the question is put into a yes/no form. For example, repeat your answer and add, "Is this correct?" or "Shall I do this?" Cayce says, ask self in your own conscious self, "Shall I do this or not?" The voice will answer within. Then meditate. Ask the same, yes or no. You may be very sure if thine own conscious self and thy divine self is in accord, you are truly in that activity indicated. My spirit beareth witness with thy spirit. If you cannot arrive at a single answer, you may develop alternative answers. Measure each answer separately against the ideal. Any answer not consistent with the ideal is dropped. Meditation is used to confirm or reject each of the remaining answers. If you are left with several confirmed but seemingly contradictory answers, you may need to return to the initial question or to the data and make sure that the question is stated in the clearest possible way and that all summaries are valid based on the data you collected. By repeated recycling through the phases and steps, you should eventually be able to arrive at a single confirmed answer or a series of consistent related answers. Phase 5, follow through. The guidance process is not complete until steps have been taken to put the answer into action. Do not become one that asks and does not abide by the answers, Cayce warned. A final critical activity is observing the results of your guided actions for signs that either confirm or reject the results. Good solutions ought to bear good fruits for you and for everyone else involved in the situation. Synchronicities can provide clear signals of confirmation or rejection. That completes the 5-phase process of guidance using both psychic and sensible sources and methods. And this is a diagram of the 5 phases. So you can see each of the phases of preparation, data collection, formulating the best answer, evaluating the best answer, and then follow through. And that is the end of the presentation.
Thank you, Liz. That was also great.
Thank you. Thank you, Liz.
Yeah, that was interesting.
There was someone came to Cayce once who asked, well, there was a number of instances, but one that I remember where someone came to Cayce and asked a question where they said a psychic had told them that they were Joe Smith or whoever in a past life. Is this correct? And the answer came back, well, you worked with Joe Smith, but you weren't Joe Smith. And so it was obvious that the psychic had picked up Joe Smith in giving a psychic reading for this person, but didn't differentiate that they were working with Joe Smith, that they weren't actually Joe Smith. Whereas Cayce was able to say, well, you worked with them, but you weren't that person. Yeah, and there was that other famous one where someone had got guidance from some famous psychic to marry a particular person. And then they actually complained to Edgar Cayce and said it was terrible, you know, and it was an absolute mess. And Cayce said, well, the psychic had tuned into a source that knew about these two people, that fireworks would be created if they got married, and he was just interested to watch and observe the fireworks when they got married. He was more interested in the benefit for himself than in the benefit for the person seeking the guidance. So yeah, it's interesting. You can't trust psychic guidance necessarily, and the best psychic guidance is from within your own self. So
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I find all those esoteric systems are interesting. I've always wanted to know all of them, but I guess you don't need them if, you know, if you're interested in them, you can use them, but you can depend on your meditation process, I guess, more for your own self-guidance. But I guess if you want to make money and, you know, become your job, then you might have to do a thorough study of it and be good at it as your job.
you know, there's this big push at the moment for artificial intelligence. And in the group meeting last night, I said, well, why are we so interested in artificial intelligence when we've got built in within us the highest form of the most perfect intelligence that knows us so intimately, that's part of us. We have this higher intelligence. We don't need artificial intelligence. We've already got it built in.
I think this is very interesting, that process that was just described then. Then I feel if you follow that sort of process, then you can actually get very reliable information. I think part of the problem with our own psychic ability and the psychic ability of other people is this idea that it's not reliable. You can't rely on it. And I think AI is going to be the same. You can't rely on it. You've got to double check it and so on. But I think it's a real problem. Well, it is a problem that there's a lot of like mystery around psychic ability. I think we should demystify it and, you know, encourage people to see it in the way that this sort of description, you know, that this makes it seem very sensible, which it is, instead of being mysterious. I think Cayce said that a lot of times, forget all the mystery sort of ideas, forget all that rubbish, you know, focus on reality and, you know, proper methods in a way.
I think the the fact that we have to measure everything through these processes against our highest spiritual ideal. Does artificial intelligence have a high spiritual ideal to measure the answers against?
No.
Probably not.
No. Garbage in, garbage out. It's an old IT expression. I just noticed Zoom has got AI companion down on the panel in my latest. I've just updated my Zoom recently. So I've got an AI companion here to help me Zoom more or something. I don't know what it's supposed to do. That was great. That was very, very interesting. They were all good.
I notice I've got an AI companion as well.
Yeah, I've not looked at that. I don't know what I haven't read about it. I don't know what it does. I don't know what it's supposed to. Can you help me here, Mr. AI? I need to know something. Yeah.
Gun, is it Gun? What did you think of the whole 3 presentations?
I have loved to listen to you all.
Oh,
I think this
thank
is
you.
very interesting, and I especially thought about measuring the answer against the ideal. I think that is very important for me. So that was good to hear, a good reminder. So thank you all.
Thank you for attending, being with us.
Thank you.
Okay, once again, we could just focus on stilling our minds and our bodies and just focus in on becoming aware of who you are as a spiritual being, having a physical experience, a companion with the universal forces, the God force, a companion with the Christ. We all live and move and have our being in God. And God expresses through us if we're willing to be cooperative and a co-creator with the God energy. The only energy that exists is the God force, the God energy, which is light and which ultimately is love. The only force in the entire universe is love. And Father, Mother God, Christ Jesus, we are grateful for this opportunity of meeting together, for this opportunity of growing in our awareness of our oneness with Thee, our oneness with each other, and the fact that all of us are working together to bring about a better world, a world more in attunement with your will and ultimately with your gift of love and the Christ. Help us to become more aware of the Christ within us and the Christ within every individual we contact. Amen.
Thank you, Russ. Nice. Thank you, everybody, for another session.
Thank you.
I'm uplifted and I'm ready for the week now. Energized.
That's it. We're all fired up. That's good.
I don't know how you do everything, Keith. You must have more than the 168 hours a week that the rest of us
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I think I just have a special gift of summarizing everything very quickly and putting it all together. So I don't know. I'm just
and
Right.
make
You're
it
doing it.
time
You're
stretch.
doing a great job. You're doing a great
Oh,
job.
yes.
Oh,
Mm.
yeah, but I need all of you guys to help in, you know, support. That's why I'm able to do it.
Mm.
If I was by
Mm.
myself, then it cannot be done. So that's the reason I'm
Absolutely.
doing it. It's the
Mm.
support.
Got to have an audience as well.
Yeah, audience and readers, different voices, and you know, if I
Yeah.
read it all, it'd be boring and not as. So yeah, so I appreciate.
Oh,
Lolita, you're muted.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, it's all coincidence, Kip. Us getting together.
I know it was meant to be. I think
Yeah. Mm.
Synchronicity.
Mm.
it was meant to be.
That's great.
Yeah, we're serving
Okay.
ourselves and others as well. So
All
yeah,
right.
I'm benefiting. Everybody's benefiting, so we're all benefiting.
Yeah, indeed.
Yes.
So thank you very much. Yeah.
Good night, everyone. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Mhm.
Goodbye. Have a
Love
good
you all.
week.
Bye-bye. Thank
Okay.
you.
See
Lovely
you.
week.
Mhm. Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Well, next week.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.